From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Bick and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by
Good morning. Day 4 at the meet. Day 1 for Loose on the Lead. Seth Merrow and Steve Bick live from the Saratoga backstretch. I was doing the one shot there. I thought we were open with the one shot. We are live from Clare Court as always. And bonjour, mon ami, as alluded to at the end of the last show. And I was watching Twitter, and yes, you were over in France. It didn't make any difference. A new continent, you're handing out winners like candy.
We really had just an unbelievable 2 weeks. You go certain places and you grow up and you go through your life, hearing about places or seeing images, and you get a certain perception and anticipation. It exceeds expectation. And really, Paris in particular, I'd been through in sort of fleeting fashion on other trips to Europe. This was a 2 week, 8 days in Paris and then six and a half in the Loire Valley with all those castles. It's pretty magical. But Paris itself is, it's everything you expect.
Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe.
Eiffel Tower is ridiculously moving. You wouldn't,
Really?
for all of the imagery and the movies and all the hype and the romantic, then you're there, particularly at night. We went during the day, our first full day, where it was 93 degrees, and we walked 10 miles a day without Tina having to put the shank on me and drag me around. And we just kept walking and walking, and at one point we were on the left bank. And we started to, let's go up toward and there we are, by the Eiffel Tower. But then at night, when the thing sparkles, which they do, by the way, for when you go to Paris, that only happens at the top of the hour for 5 minutes, like from 10 o'clock to 10:05, 11 to 11:05. So, if you go and you think, oh, why isn't it lighting up at the top of the hour? You think you're in a movie. You kiss your wife and
Happy birthday to Tina, by the way.
Yesterday, absolutely, but she's going to make it last. Don't worry. It's going to go into this week when we go down to Haskell on the Jersey Shore. So we'll have some birthday dinners down around Oceanport.
Oh, speaking of that, how was the food in France?
Food in France, it's a funny, again, it's somewhat unusual because they've got these rather fixed menus that are they're pretty much identical wherever you go, and you better block out the evening because I won't even call it leisurely. It's like every single meal is a marathon, and restaurants don't open until 7 o'clock at night. That's like first seating. So you can forget early bird. You're not going to pull an early bird there. Now, of course, the benefit is it's 6 hours ahead. So you're still fresh. It's kind of weird. It's taken me a week actually to not wake up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m. I'm an early riser anyway. Food was very good. Maybe the best meal we had. This was very funny. We were in the Loire Valley, and we ended up at we were in a little village, and we went to a creperie, and there's a revelation involved with the creperie scenario. You like crepes at all now and then? In the winter, maple?
No, I never really have. I mean, I don't know whether I like them. I've never really done it.
The crepe as dessert there's a whole different crepe that nobody knows about that you have as a main course. It's a galette. It's still a crepe in theory. It's still a thin pancake, but it's made with buckwheat flour. So it's like a heartier pancake. And it has some meat filling and whatnot. I had one with Swiss cheese and ham and onion, and there was something else in there. It was unbelievable. And it's just a crepey pancake, that's been on the grill with the cheese and the meat and oh my God, it was unbelievable. And everything's with a salad. They put this little side salad on everything. It's like 4 pieces of lettuce with a vinaigrette. It comes with everything. I mean, you can order breakfast. I'll tell you what else has risen back up on my radar. After years on the shelf, the soft-boiled egg.
Oh.
When was the last time you had a nice soft-boiled egg?
I was not an egg person until I became an adult, and so I don't know that I've ever really done soft-boiled. That still scares me a little bit. I can remember my grandfather, though, when I go to Maine, he would have the cup and
now you're talking.
Cut out the top and spoon in. Yeah.
My father was a big soft-boiled egg guy. And you go for breakfast, they've got what looks like a toaster, except that it's a tank of hot water with a little thing. You drop the egg. The egg sits in there. This timer. They're very big, by the way, with the timers. The sand through the hourglass. So is the days of our soft-boiled egg. It's very funny. With tea, they've got these tea timers for sieping your tea, and then also for your soft-boiled. Anyway, I'm back on the soft-boiled egg train. My father loved soft-boiled eggs. Come to the table on a plate. The egg is under the cup, and then there's one in the top. There's a fat cup, and then there's the narrow cup. You got it.
Yeah. No, I remember my grandfather.
You get some toast. You make little slices. You dip your.
Yeah, he would spoon it out. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. But I alluded to it when I introduced that. Talk about stopping at the races in France, and you're like I say, you're handing.
It was very funny, actually. The Longchamp surprised me. The course is expansive. I mean, and like all the the major European ovals, there's like 6 different layouts over a big expansion. It's out in it's also in this mammoth bois, in this huge forest. And as you drive there, it's almost like a sports complex. Roland Garros Stadium is right there. You pass Roland Garros, the French Open, and then you go a little further, and there's Longchamp. And it's not a grandiose. It's a handsome. They remodeled fairly recently, and it's a different, not different looking. It's a different color. It's this rusty yellow. And we went on a Thursday where they're doing a promotion all summer, where they're bringing in DJs after the races. And so they're specifically promoting to a young audience. They've had a problem, actually, at Longchamp, that they have not been able to capture the interest of younger Parisians but this promotion has been sold out every single Thursday. And in fact, I think this Thursday, Martin Solveig, the French DJ, who's an international star, he's there to end the season. So we ended up going to that with our host, a girl by the name of Anya Shamsour, who worked in Manhattan and was a roommate of our son, Spencer. So the parents had invited us. We stayed with them. Europeans, they'll invite you. You meet them in a bar. They'll invite you to come stay with them for as long as you want. It's unbelievable, actually. I learned that in Montreal. In Montreal, you meet somebody and you say, "Oh, come stay with me. You got a place to stay with?" "No, we're hacking around." "No, come stay with us." Okay, it's a big deal, and very few serial killings, by the way, very few. As long as you don't go to Massapequa.
Plus.
So we're there, and Anya and her brother, they don't know anything, and so I'm looking at the PPs, which I pulled up on the phone, the DRF international PPs, and the feature actually had been a Group 3 earlier on the card that we didn't get. We weren't there yet. So I'm looking at this race. So there's a Wertheimer from Roger. that's coming back, has been away since September. She's coming out of Group 2 and Group 3 races. If she runs her race, nobody's beating her. It's a 7-horse field. And then I see there's one horse in nice form who's a kind of a cut beneath, has not a stake horse, the one, and she's in good form. And she's going to be in front. So I say to the kids, I said, it's the 1 and the 7. Nobody else. There isn't anybody else in this field. The rest of them were claimers, literally. I mean,
the uncept exactly.
Exactly. And I said, the 1 and the 7, put them together. Sure enough, the 1 up to the front, 7 makes a late move, clunks up, can't get to the front running 1. She's 9-1. So we got a $20 winner, and they're waving euros around.
Sacre bleu.
It's unbelievable. It was, and I'm laughing my ass off because
that's hilarious.
You know, I'm here 3 minutes, and you know.
Yeah, that's great. My sister and her husband were over for like a month back in June. They had a great time, and like you, they had kind of rented a spot, but immediately they made friends with neighbors, and they were over eating dinner at neighbors' houses.
You take the metro, you can get anywhere in the city in no time at all. I wanted to get to St. Cloud and DeVille, but we're going to have to save that. St. Cloud is very close to where the center of the unrest was in Nanterre. People that got a lot of emails and people texting and saying, "Oh, is it safe?" And I mean, there was real unrest over that police shooting, but it was very isolated, and you actually could hear. You could actually, in parts of the city, you could hear things happen.
Like
it was the real thing, but it wasn't widespread at all. It was very concentrated, and they made sure to have a serious police presence throughout the city. And then day 4, 5, 6, it started to, it had spread though to Nice and Marseille, but it subdued, and it was still just an amazing experience. And then touring these castles, it's insane actually. And it's not like they were only built like 250, 300 years ago. I mean, it's not like,
are they tourist spots now, or are they residences?
Well, it's funny you say that. There's a couple of them. There's one we went to that is really the principal, one of the biggest attractions in France, in Europe, Chenonceau, which is now owned by the Meunier family and has been the chocolatiers. It's basically, like Hershey for France. This is like Hershey Park. I mean, it's crazy what's going. I mean, you go through these. And there's art, and there's the tapestries, and Catherine Medici, her bedroom, and it's really amazing. They built these. What's funny about it? They built these castles, and none of them were ever engaged in any like war or anything. They were just show places. They were just ostentatious displays of wealth and grandeur, and your jaw just drops. Not to mention the landscape. The landscape. Oh. I mean, you cannot conceive of how many people it must have taken in the 16, 17, 1800s to maintain these gardens. Even now, we went to Versailles. You can't believe it. What goes on with these, the ornate shrubbery and my favorite, which is the trees that are squared off.
Yeah.
But apparently now they've got the machine that just goes.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but they didn't have that machine in 1710.
And they also went beyond the square. I mean, there would be shapes and.
Well, you go down to Ocala, at WEC at the World Equestrian Center. They've got those. Topiaries. Topiaries. He was about to say topiary.
I was this close. Just before we move off France, I have to ask, Mona Lisa?
Saw the Mona Lisa. I will not be one of those who say meh, and I won't like fall over myself. I knew it was modest, and it is. The problem they've got is they've got it in this hall, and people are like maniacs. And I'm not trying to cast any cultural aspersions, but there's one particular group of people that, I mean, with cameras that are just, you're lucky it doesn't turn into a Who concert in Cincinnati. I'm telling you, I mean, you be ready for an elbow or two in the back and a Nikon lens to the face. It's crazy. So Tina actually, she was doing some of the lean in, and so she got the best picture. The Venus de Milo, this is at the Louvre, and the Louvre is okay. The museum you want to put on your agenda is the Musée d'Orsay, which is the old train station from the Paris Exposition of 1898. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, every room you go into, there's another masterpiece, including Starry Night by Van Gogh, and there was the Manet Degas exhibit, which included both Degas and Manet had that period when Longchamp opened in 1864. And they both, they were at the height of their careers, and they both fell in love with the racetrack. And Longchamp became, the center of social activity in Paris at that time. And they both have got these pictures. It's interesting because Manet loved the action, and Degas loved the atmosphere. Horses warming up, horses in the parade ring, training. So there's this balance, and there was an entire room as part of the exhibit, the Manet Degas exhibit, where there was nothing but their Longchamp paintings. We had just pretty magical. Highly, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, and again, it was fun to see over there, handing out the winners across the pond, as it were. Before we go to a break, play of the day? The Paula play of the day?
Yes, I have one.
Very good. And for folks who are interested, the play of the day team is still, the entry forms are still open. 50 folks selected for the team. We'll be placing a $100 wager on the play of the day. Every day, the team will split up the winnings at the end of the season. And I think entries close tomorrow or Tuesday, maybe, but you still have time. Go to capitalotv.com and click on the promotions link, and then you'll see this graphic right there. Click on that, and there's an entry form. And so take your chance to get selected for the play of the day team.
I love it. Second play of the day so far this season, opening day, actually, that horse that drew in, we talked about on the radio, that the Antonacci, that absolutely looked live. And I would have loved to have gotten a chance to get back to that. But anyway, we were going to have Larry Ravelli today. Ravelli texted me last night. He's on the dance floor at some wedding in Michigan. I'm not going to be there. I'm staying at this wedding. Okay, Larry. So no Larry Ravelli, but we're gonna go with Ravelli today with Vince Foglia's Uncashed. This is the uncaptured gelding that I know some people assumed that he was entered to maybe anticipation of the race coming off the turf. But he's good either way. And I'm not, when it comes to soft turf, that's always that's always a bit of an unknown. But as it happens, I had Ravelli on this week coming back from vacation because I wanted to talk about Two Phil's injury and retirement, plus these other horses. Ravelli's hitting on all cylinders. He won the Hawthorne Derby. He has that nice, he's got No Balls as well. That's won a couple of stakes. And this is a horse that he is really high on coming out of the Golden Circle. And we talked about the War Chant mare that he's out of. This is Charlie B. And he fully intended to run on turf. Now, soft turf is a bit of a mystery, but this horse is on a nice roll, has only ever been beaten by a half length in 5 career starts. It looks like he wants the lead. I don't think he necessarily has to have the lead, but he's 5-1, And I think we'll get every bit of that with the Wesley Ward runners. Right now, that race remains on the turf. He's also drawn a little bit outside in the 9-hole, and chances are the crown of the turf is going to be a good place. Draws Arad Ortiz, and for me, the play of the day, the DePaula play of the day, is uncashed, and hope that's not the case. Hope that
I'm right with you. I used that one on top as well.
There you go. So it's got the Seth Merrow seal of approval.
Very good. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, it's Quick Call Day presented by the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, and so one of the worthy horse racing charities, certainly. And the next couple of guests in the next couple of segments have been tied in with raising some money for the TRF. So we'll conversate about that as we move forward. A little bit. I was trying to think of what the right. I think that works. Well, I'm going to have to look it up. But we'll have all of that coming up and more a little bit later on as we continue day number 1 of Loose on the Lead. Stay tuned. Back right after this.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. But here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
When you think trucks, think DePaula. Then come join the family for value. Just visit, call, or click.
This week's Chevy Silverado is just $549 a month with zero due at inception. Yes, zero down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs. When you think trucks, think DePaula.
The all-new 2024 Chevy Trax is here. Bigger, roomier, seats 5, and lots of technology. And just $419 a month, zero down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
We're back on Loose on the Lead on this first Sunday of the Saratoga season. And as Seth mentioned, TRF Day and the quick call, we're going to do some Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation conversation with two fundraisers, two really nice stories. But I've also got to bring in one piece of news that broke in the last hour or so. Funny Side has passed after a colic bout, and Seth and I will talk about him. We'll talk about the Derby. We'll talk about the magic that was involved in Funny Side's run for the Triple Crown and all it did for the New York bred program. It's funny, I just happened to have had Jack Knowlton on the other day. And of course, Funny came up, and one of my partners at DT, Marty Shapiro, just went to visit him the other day, said he looked terrific. And but colic in aging horses, their system thickens and tightens, and colic in a senior advanced age horse is very, very serious. It's serious at any time, but particularly with retirees and older horses. So thoughts to everybody, not just at Saratoga, but the countless fans. There is certainly a generation of horse player and fan that came to the game with Funny Sides Run. So,
School bus, the whole story. Yeah,
exactly. Meanwhile, let's turn to Chris Carpenter and the long shot, the story of Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners Ben Bang, and turned into epic poetry. We were just talking about classics and timeless. This is sort of the Epic of Gilgamesh, except that it's a filly.
It is, and it's funny. This all started as just a poem. Me being a little bit of a sap with this horse, being my first horse ever. I wrote a poem the night before the race, and she was the long shot on the line, on the morning line, and so it wasn't ever written to be a children's book because I didn't mention anything about her winning in that poem, and went out the next day and won the race, and it was pretty special moment.
It turned into the long shot. There's so many fun parts of it, including the local artist, Dave Papa, whose wonderful illustrations are going to also excite. I can tell you that we had Chris on radio earlier in the week, and Tina went out to see our grandchildren, our 3-year-old granddaughter, listened to it 6 times at least, maybe 8. Absolutely loved it. Your story is also fun because, of course, Chris, a retired Major League Baseball player, spending time with the Red Sox, the Cubs, and as we fleshed out the other day, the Tokyo Yakult Swallows.
That's right.
And then here you end up becoming a fan of the game. Explain your sports journey in general and your gravitation into becoming a partner at Eclipse and becoming so avid a fan that you were moved to write this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a small town kid from Ohio. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people. Not many major leaguers come from small farmland in Ohio, but was fortunate enough to make my way up through the ranks of the minor leagues, and finally in 2011 made my debut in Chicago. And so, while I wasn't a long time, I had my cup of coffee for a couple years. But was fortunate to get there, and I experienced the grind to make it to that top level, and appreciated all the work to get to that top level. And so fast forward to 2021, when I had some family friends in Arkansas, where my wife is from, talk to me about the horse racing industry, and they had been fortunate enough to be part of some very, very good horses, one being Animal Kingdom. And I guess if you're going to be part of a horse, that's not a bad one to be a part of. So they were a part of Animal Kingdom, kind of were telling me a little bit about the industry, and kind of, if you wanted to get involved, maybe just, tiptoe into it, learn the industry, try to educate yourself, and you never go to the track expecting to win. Just, you're building relationships, you're meeting great people. And that's kind of what I did. And that was really the synopsis of this poem that I wrote. It was just a thank you to this horse who had put in a lot of work, and was not a lot was expected from this horse. And it was just a thank you to get us there, and then it goes out and wins.
And again, the horse is Ben Bang, and I pulled up the lifetime record on Equibase last night and did win the first start right up here at Saratoga back in 2021. And it sounds like from your story, up until 3 or 4 years ago, you weren't related to horse racing at all. You kind of got pulled in just recently.
Just recently. I wasn't related to riding. I wasn't related to horse racing. So all of this is very new to me. Amazing. But the amazing people that I've met along this journey, it's, I will forever cherish all of it. So,
I'm curious, were you here for
we actually, it had got the first couple times that it got rained off, the race had not been carded. Then once it was rained off. And so we did not make the trip, because the card, I think it was 2 cards that didn't get filled. And so I was actually in my living room watching the race, and as it was coming out, my wife videoed it, which I try to keep that video undercover. My wife I got tears running down my face, just a smile on my face. It was a wonderful moment.
Chris's wife is from Hot Springs, and so
is.
I mean, absolutely. Don't have to tell anybody locally. Virtually a sister city to Saratoga. The scenario is almost identical. If you've never been to Hot Springs, put it on the list. who made the connection? Explain how the poem morphed itself into the book. And of course, one of the parts of this is that proceeds from the book are going to TRF. But make those connections and getting it published, and then tell the story about Dave Papa, the street artist that is responsible for the fabulous artwork.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, I wrote the poem the night before. I sent it to two people. I sent it to Aaron Wellman, and I sent it to the Salvo family who live here in Saratoga, and we're also a part of Ben Bang. And Aaron immediately sends me back, can I send this out to the partnership? And so when Ben Bang won the next day, it was funny, all the partners were telling me that I now need to be the poet for every race.
Poet laureate.
They need it, yes, the poet laureate of Eclipse. So that is how kind of the story got out. With Dave, we used to buy paintings when we would come to Saratoga. We loved his work on the streets right in front of Suave Fair. He would always paint on the streets, and his little touch is he would let your kids take the brush and make a little bit of a mark on the painting. And so my kids love to take the brush, and sometimes mark's a little bigger than probably it should be, but they would love that part. And so we came back the following year after the race, and it was actually my wife's idea to ask him, would be a great fit for him, being a Saratoga connection, to be the illustrator of a book written about something that happened in Saratoga.
And the publishing portion of it?
So the publishing portion of it, was really my wife and I. We've kind of put this all together. I mean, she is amazing at this stuff. Being kind of her media background has helped me. We had, she has editors that she knows that, she's helped put this together. But really, this has just kind of been a Carpenter team effort that we all have come together and put this book together.
How'd you get involved with the TRF and some of the proceeds going? That aftercare has become such a major issue in the game over the last few years. It's great that some of the proceeds are going, but how'd you make the tie-in?
Yeah, so Kelsey Marshall with Eclipse is on the board of the TRF, and it was a pretty easy, connection to make, being a part of Eclipse and knowing how big of a role she had in the TRF. And the biggest thing is I wanted to make sure I understood what the TRF did before, I know I'm only doing a small part for retirement of these wonderful creatures, but so I visited the correctional facility that the TRF has in South Carolina. I wanted to just fully understand what, the proceeds are going to, and it's a wonderful program that does amazing stuff, not only for the horses, but for inmates, and rebuilding them and kind of giving them and the horses a second chance.
Yeah, very good. Let people know where they can get the book. If we have a lot of people obviously watching in the area, but via YouTube and whatnot, people are all over the place watching. So how can people get the long shot?
Absolutely. Well, if you come to the track today, I'm going to be over in the TRF tent over by the entrance. I would love to meet everybody and talk to everybody. I will be signing the books. You can buy your copy over there. If you would like to buy it online, it will be online on either the TRF's website, on their store, or on Amazon, or Barnes & Noble online would have it as well.
Very good. And now that you have one under your belt, anything planned on the writing side of things in the future?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a better writer when it just comes to me freely and not thinking about I have to write something. So we'll see if something else comes.
And I'm curious, after Ben Bang, are you involved in other horses?
We do have a couple horses right now. We actually have one that is scheduled to run, fingers crossed, next week here. We won't be here, but it's a filly named Fizzy. So kind of keeping our eye on her.
All right. And give us your impressions of, as a new horse racing fan, your impressions of the Saratoga experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an amazing place. People don't understand until you get here just how special this place is. It's almost like you kind of go back in time. Mm-hmm. And Steve, you were perfect at talking about Hot Springs and the connection of Hot Springs, and the two cities have a very, very similar feel.
It also occurs to me, and I didn't bring this up with you this past week on radio, but it does occur to me that you played in Fenway and Wrigley Field, which your two home ballparks as a major leaguer have the same historic presence and tradition that Saratoga has in that regard.
100%. I mean, if you had to pick two historic ballparks to call home, Wrigley and Fenway would definitely be up there. And feel very blessed to have the opportunity to have played at both of those parks.
And you talk about major leaguers you don't think of for small towns in Ohio. But what about the guy pitching to Robert Redford in the Natural? Wasn't he kind of corn-fed? Right? The big guy.
Yes,
I think they described him as being country boy. So it's not unknown.
People may want to actually go beyond the movie and actually read,
which is about 108.
read Bernard Malamuth's actual.
I, however, am a big fan of the movie, but I kind of like the Frank Capra ending. I have to admit,
it's not Capra-esque in the book.
No, and not.
Sorry to spoil the ending, but there's no spoiling the ending of The Long Shot. She wins. I'm going to give it away.
She wins. She wins,
and it's a winner. Chris Carpenter, everybody, and Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. And the wonderful poem. You don't mention her by name. That's obviously by design.
It is by design because, my big thing was this was a story about Ben Bang, but this is kind of a story about just anybody that's come to the track. Anybody owning a horse. I mean, this was my Kentucky Derby. July 29th,
so far.
2021. This was my Kentucky Derby, and it was kind of the everyday person's, long shot horse. Most of the horse racing world didn't care about this horse, but it was my pride and joy.
Can we get the wife to tweet out the video?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll just tag you guys in it.
Chris Carpenter, everybody. Let's do this. We got to take the break for the change.
Yeah.
All right. When we come back, an equally fabulous story about a fundraiser. It's local. It's got everything. It's got a kid. It's a home run. Stay with us. Back after this. Loose on the Lead. Lee Einsidler joins us later as well as another fair. Here's a poem. You got to write a poem now about Casa Creed. There's alliteration. There's all kinds of stuff. That's a natural, actually. 7-year-old. That's your next project.
Okay.
Back after this. Capital OTB. Loose on the Lead.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotb.com.
I'm Seth Merrow, and as serious horse players, we know that information is critical when placing a bet. With live streaming of more than 30 tracks, race replays, free past performances, and daily picks from professional handicappers, no one gives you more up-to-the-minute information than Capital OTB. Combine that with the best player awards in New York State, and you have everything a serious horse player needs to be successful.
Win more with Capital OTB.
Winning starts here.
We're back on Loose on the Lead on this first Sunday morning of the meet. Hard to believe we'll be 10% into the season by late this afternoon. As mentioned, as we were heading out, the second half of the TRF conversation, this one came to light for me on Wednesday. I was doing the pre-Saratoga opening show and had Chris Carpenter on the radio, but TRF was having a media day, and they introduced young Chandler Pabis to the media, and you're a sensation. $2,500 raised for the TRF horses, and he joins us now. Chandler, well done.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I will give you a round of applause on that.
Exactly.
We were talking before the commercial break. This was tied into a project with National Honor Society, National Junior Honor Society. Tell us what the impetus was to get the project started.
So I was invited. I had good grades, and no, hadn't gotten in trouble yet. Hopefully it stays the same. But so one of the requirements was have 10 hours community service for multiple organizations. First started with a food drive, which went pretty well, so I was glad with that. But I still had more hours to get done, multiple. So I love horse racing. Been coming to track forever. Like, know all jockeys, all trainers. I can, like, an encyclopedia for the sport. But, so I decided to do TRF, and it ended up doing great. $2,500. I sponsored a horse for a whole year, so it turned out.
That's beautiful. And I actually went on the TRF website, and they had some pictures of you through the years as a little kid with some of the jockeys and whatnot. Talk a little bit. You're local?
Yes.
So you've been coming here to Saratoga since you were small, obviously, as we'll see with the pictures. And what drew you? Is your family, your father, your dad involved in the game at all, or what drew you to the being a fan?
We're just like kind of big fans, nothing like really close. Just love the sport and love everything around it. I ended up loving it too, so that's kind of just how it ended up coming along.
And how did you get introduced to the TRF?
It was more of, I think, kind of like as we came up with the idea, we reached out to Mrs. Weir, and because she runs it, and talked about the idea. She said it was a great, opportunity and awesome, and it just kind of started from there, and it just grew.
Yeah, our friend Kim Weir. If you get her involved, it's a go.
Oh, definitely.
Again, a great job. $2,500. How did you raise it?
Yeah. Almost, like a salesman, I'd compare it to, going to family, friends, people I don't know, just giving them a pitch, telling them how awesome the organization is, why they should donate to this, and, it ended up working out really well. So.
Yes, it did. Yeah, very good. Very good.
So you basically just put the arm on the unsuspecting friends and family?
Well, I had some, people I've never met also.
Strangers on the street.
Yeah.
You're out there panhandling for TRF.
Exactly.
This is. We should note that his father is a professional headhunter. So there's a certain apple falling from the tree here when it comes to hustling them up. I love it. What about your friends? What the friends? How did they react to this?
Well, I was actually celebrating a friend's birthday yesterday, and I told them, I'm going to be on TV. They didn't believe me, so if they're watching, Braden, Alex, Lincoln, I'm here. So.
This is a scene out of Willy Wonka, by the way. I don't want to go too far afield, but this is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory live. You got kind of a Mike TV look to you, actually. That's true. The next version they do of it. So what's next? What grade
are you going into?
I'm going into 8th grade. So
okay.
He's a freshman in college. Come on, who are you kidding? Too funny. What do you want to study? What do you want to do?
Study business, finance.
I guess so.
I'm hoping to get a sports scholarship in football, but that's tough. We're hoping for that. So.
Interesting. So you're playing Pee Wee and yeah?
Yeah.
What position?
Wide receiver.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. What school are you going to go to? Where are you going to end up?
Anywhere that can take me. Dream school would be Georgia, but I'd be grateful for any sport.
I love it. Tell me, how'd you end up with Don Adam?
So my dad is a really good friend of him. My mom and my dad are really good friends. We have dinner with them. He's one of the best people I've ever met.
Yes, he is.
He's a great guy.
One of the great people, one of the great owners of the game.
Just awesome. And over time, we built a good relationship. And he actually has a horse named after my dad, named General Jim. My dad's also in the Vermont Army National Guard. So
you buried the lead on this. You got to be kidding.
And we should mention the fan club. Mick, our TV guy, said we got to get a bleacher for the fan club here.
Yeah.
So your dad is the impetus for General Jim. Well, then you'll be on later on after the Alan Jerkins. We'll get you on the Sunday after Travers. Unbelievable. That's tremendous. This is right.
It all comes full circle.
And I promise you,
it all comes full circle.
Oh, that's right.
Before we wrap it up, I interrupted Steve's question. He said, "Next, you have something. You got another fundraiser planned?"
Not right now, but definitely, I think we could grow this. I would indirectly plan this, and I think it could grow. I think it could double, really. So that would be a great plan, great idea.
I love it. I love the confidence, and I love what you did already. I mean, $2,500 is great. Goes, as you say, takes care of a horse for a year. You got to love that because, as I said earlier, aftercare has now become such an important topic in the horse racing industry, and it's great to see that you became a fan of the game and pulled that in. And so, congratulations on a fabulous effort.
Thank you very much. Thank you to have me. So
very good. So we will we'll take a break and come back. We'll talk to Lee Einsidler on the owner's side of things after the big win yesterday in the Kelso with Casa. But we'll go out once again with some applause for Chandler with a really good effort. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotv.com.
I'm Seth Merrow, and as serious horse players, we know that information is critical when placing a bet. With live streaming of more than 30 tracks, race replays, free past performances, and daily picks from professional handicappers, no one gives you more up-to-the-minute information than Capital OTB. Combine that with the best player awards in New York State, and you have everything a serious horse player needs to be successful.
Win more with Capital OTB.
Winning starts here. Welcome back to Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Steve Bick, and one of our favorite people on the racetrack, Lee Einsidler. Had to bring him over here. Congratulations on Casa and the win in the Kelso yesterday. Lee, that was fabulous.
Yeah, what a performance. 7 years old.
And that's I put the horse on top, but I said when we did the morning handicapping show, I said, well, the question for handicappers is, is he still Casa Creed at 7 because he had win. But you look at that Saudi Arabian race, which was fabulous, and the second to Caravel, and I said, I'm still going. Casa Creed is still Casa Creed.
Some people wrote after the Jaipur that maybe he's lost a little of his fastball. He had a maroon post. The speed didn't materialize. That filly is fabulous. He run great. He ran, I think, a 99 buyer in the Jaipur.
Yeah.
So, and,
Did we see a number for yesterday?
100.
Run 100.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
No,
Nice little triple digit.
He was as good yesterday as he's ever been.
Yeah.
And that's part of the real appeal of the whole story is that this is a horse.
I think we have the race too. So if those
this
guys
is a horse that has
pull it
gotten, and of course, in Bill Mott's care, this is a horse. Of his starts at Saratoga. He's run here every year since he was 2 years old. This is what, his 4th or 3rd stake win?
He's run 6 years in a row
Six
at
in a row.
Saratoga, which is remarkable to begin with. One is a 2-year-old, won the Hall of Fame at 3, 3rd in the 4-star David 4, 3rd in the 4-star David 5, won it at 6, won the Kelso yesterday.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. To run at Saratoga 6 years in a row at the highest level.
Well, and you have been on the show 6 years in a row and perform at the highest level. Talk about what's going on right now, because Luis Saez is riding 2 horses. He's riding Casa Creed, and he's absolutely riding Annapolis here. He made Irad look a little silly today, yesterday.
I thought coming out of the Jaipur sprint that we would be more forwardly placed than we would normally be. And he just put him in a great place.
Yeah. Look at him. Pen. He's got that the yellow, the 2 that's pinned in.
I'm not taking anything away from the favorite. Annapolis is a very, very, very talented racehorse. But I think it's safe to say.
But you left him.
We really got a fabulous trip by Louis. He rode it great. He had the 2 down inside.
Yeah.
And right about now, when he came out, I was looking behind Casa Creed to see who's coming. And I thought, nobody's coming. And right about now, I'm thinking we're in great shape.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming. And the 2 finally got out. He got out late, but
he had every he got out.
yesterday,
He had every chance to
Casa
catch
Creed
him.
was going to be better no matter what.
Yeah, he and look at him. He's still
was best
extended.
no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
And I was down in the winner circle after the race listening to you and Bill Mott, and the game plan wasn't this race. The game plan was to come up and go the 4-star day, but Bill said he was just doing too well.
He shocked me. And Kiernan gave the call away. I wasn't thinking Kelso. In my mind, Kelso's a dirt race.
Well, yeah, they're
wasn't
swapping.
thinking about
They're
it.
swapping the names.
And I said to Bill a few weeks ago, how we doing with Casa Creed on schedule for the 4-star day? He had a little something bugging him in the leg. He said, I'm going to run him opening Saturday in the Kelso. I said, the Kelso? He said, yeah, it used to be the Forbidden Apple. He's ready to run. One more work, and we're going to run opening weekend. So there you have it.
Did you get the follow-up this morning?
You mean the next race?
No, the follow-up. How's he doing today coming out of the
I
race?
was in the barn with him very early.
Yeah.
Looks great, ate up, doing awesome. Billy had his hands all over him. You know, you go to Bill Mott barn, he puts his hands on every single horse. He's there with every single horse, and he looked great this morning. Clear-eyed, looking fabulous. He looked terrific. Terrific.
A couple of different things. We have to talk Saratoga and the fandom that this horse has generated. Let's do some follow-up and some sort of career retrospective and some of the things, Lee, that has been a little bit tricky with him. There's been a couple of things that have happened. Number one, if there's one place he doesn't like to run, it's Keeneland. And you've been unfortunately
He's never run good in Kentucky.
Anywhere. That's true, actually. Well, you got 2 sand-based courses.
He's never run good in Kentucky.
So that's number one. Now you've got down the road, if we look to the Breeders' Cup, because you want to try the Breeders' Cup again.
Yes.
And obviously 4-star day will be a win and you're in. Ideally, a downhill try at Santa Anita feels like it's right up his alley, the 6.5, except that's not the configuration they're going to run the Breeders' Cup Sprint this year. They don't want to do the transition from the grass over the dirt back to the grass. They're scared to do that, the Breeders' Cup. So instead, they're going to run it at 5, which is just a little ridiculous. So again, now you're in this quandary. you'd love to run the classic turf sprint distance at Santa Anita, but they're not going to run that. So are you committed to the mile?
We're committed to the mile. We discussed it
rest
this
of the year.
morning. We can't run them at 5. It's way too short. It is what it is. We have to play with the cards that are dealt to us. We'll talk about his next race. There's a couple ideas. I'll share them with you this morning. But when you look at the American milers, I don't know who we need to be afraid of. I respect them all. I respect a lot the horse that ran second yesterday. But when you look at the American horses, we're right there for sure. The Euros are another story.
You have no idea.
So we'll race one more time and then go to Santa Anita. He ran at Santa Anita once in the Shoemaker. He was washed out crazy before the race. Terrible. He ran deceptively fabulous. He was 4th or 5th, but only missed by 2, and he was a wet mess. So we'll look to run him in the Breeders' Cup money.
So that had to be what, 3
years ago?
3 years ago?
Yes, 3 years ago.
So when he would have been, it would have been 4.
We ran him out there at 4.
Talk about buying him, because top of the page, Keeneland, September 2017.
Right.
Paid a little over $100,000. Now well over $2 million in earnings.
Right.
Talk about picking him out of the sale.
Yeah, I give all the credit to Kenny McPeak.
That's right.
It's the first horse Kenny ever picked out for me. We've been friends for many years. Many years. We became friends here in Saratoga. He called me up. He said, I got a horse for you. It's about $100,000. He'll run early. He'll run at Saratoga for you. He'll run on the dirt. He'll run on the grass. Probably more grass, but can run on the dirt. And I think you could have a lot of fun with him. So we bought him.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Mike Frances is my partner. I said, we're buying this horse. He said, Jimmy Creed, really? I said, yeah, let's just get him. He's not $1 million. Let's buy him. So we bought him together. And he's taking us around the world.
And we talked about it before we came on the air. I got to tell the story because it is a great story from yesterday. You're a great ambassador of the game. I've been friendly with you for quite a while now through Steve, and you're super enthusiastic about the sport. And as I say, a great ambassador. And yesterday I'm walking in the paddock, and there's a group of people who sit in the kind of the picnic area who for years and years have waved and, hey, who do you like today? And I chat with them, a great group of guys. And they stopped me yesterday and said, do you know who owns the 8? And I said, yeah, it's Lee Einsidler. And they said, yeah, he just gave us some money and said, go bet on my horse. And they were kind of like, we didn't know what to. And I said, no, yeah, go play. And so after the race, they're outside the winner's circle, and there's a couple of guys who are lifetime racetrackers, and they now have the story of a lifetime.
Yeah, that was fun. I was walking in the paddock, and they were there yelling, and they said, "Can your horse win? Can your horse win?" I said, "Of course he's going to win." And one of them said, "You can't beat the 2." I gave him each 100. I said, when he wins, you come to the winner's circle because I want to see those tickets. Because if that hundo goes south, I'm going to come back and you guys are going to have a real problem with me. Of course he's going to win. So I bought him each $100 win ticket, and they showed up by the winner's circle.
They were over the moon.
I think I made their summer.
Yeah, they were over the moon. You made you made their entire career at the racetrack. This was going to the top of their story list. Yeah, good for you. That was fun.
Listen, that's what Saratoga's all about.
Well, and this is a horse. I mean, the 4-star Dave, the chance to repeat in the 4-star Dave. Yeah, and you were looking downstate on Belmont Day to basically retire the Jaipur Trophy to win that 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of horse. When we listen to that refrain particularly about 3-year-olds leaving the scene and going to stud, this is a whole horse,
right?
And there'll be a stud career for him somewhere in the world when he's done. But in the meantime, as you mentioned, people are coming year after year, and they're seeing him here, or they're seeing him at Belmont, and they get to follow his career. And how many starts now has he made?
Yesterday was start number 32, win number 8.
So there you go. So that continuity is invaluable to building, real fans and people that have a sustained interest in the game. Yep. And the 4-star Dave himself, the Sultan of Saratoga, it's really fitting that you've got kind of an heir to that concept.
Somebody wrote this morning he's become the mayor of Saratoga. And he's won 8 times, but Steve Haskin wrote me. He said, I looked at all of his races. In all the races that he did not win, he never got beat by more than 3 lengths.
Oh, that Saudi Arabian race was
2 years in a row. Not just this year. Last year, too.
He got beat by a foot, and last year he got beat by maybe 3 inches.
Yep.
Ran great. Yep. But he's never gotten beat by more than 3 lengths. Amazing.
Well, stylistically, what's interesting is as he's matured, he's gotten even more tactical. I mean, sometimes you get horses as they mature, and they will become, much more one-dimensional. And he had felt like a race, the way in which he broke sharp, and Louis positioned himself and took advantage of that. I mean, if he had been behind Annapolis early,
could have been different.
It's a very different scenario.
Yes,
but instead, you basically got to control the race from mid-pack.
To be fair, once the 2 got out, he had every opportunity.
I agree. I completely
agree. He had every
agree.
opportunity. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think Annapolis is great. I think he'll improve off yesterday's race to be in the 4-star Dave. He'll be a handful. But Casa Creed was the best horse in the race yesterday, regardless of trips.
Great.
He got the trip, but he was going to win.
He made his own trip.
He did.
And Louis, that's one of Louis', it's interesting too. We should mention, we haven't talked yet, Seth and I, about these early portion of the meet, but Saez kind of, we lifted the lid on the meet, and Saez had been in a little bit of a fishtail. And this and a couple, and he had a couple already, and I think that
now
the fog has cleared a little bit. I agree.
He's fearless.
No, he does terrific.
Very talented rider, very strong, great finisher, and he'll put a horse anywhere.
Yeah, it's a tough jockey colony up here this year. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
One thing that's interesting, because I mean, you've talked about him being the horse of a lifetime, and it is interesting that you've had this progressive series of big horses, with real regularity, and each progressive one, I suppose, from Timber Reserve to Mr. Sydney.
Beautiful Danielle was an excellent race.
Yeah.
And all of yours have been kind of purchased in that you're not jumping out there for $1 million or $2 million bucks.
Early on, I did, and I learned that the more you spend doesn't mean they're going to run any faster. That was early when I got started. But the last decade we haven't spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
I have a great team, and I think Kenny helps. Pat Hopple, who breaks the yearlings, has a great eye.
Sure.
I have a 2-year-old over here.
I was going to ask 2-year-olds, what are we looking for up here?
Yeah, I have one. I don't even want to talk about him. I want to get a big price on him.
Wait a minute. There's no big prices on any horse of yours.
Well,
you see to that.
Yeah, I guess. But I started out with maybe thinking we were going to run 4 2-year-olds. We'll run 2. One is acting like he's a very serious horse, and the bloodstock agent Mike Ryan bought him for me last year at the Keeneland sale. He said physically he's as good as anything I've ever seen in a yearling. His stallion is a little quiet, so you'll be able to buy him. He still was more than I like to spend. Mike Francesa and I bought him together for $300. That was $100 more than we like to go. But he's up here. He looks like a 3-year-old. He's a big, giant 2-turn dirt horse, and we're looking forward to getting him rolling here in the next few weeks.
That's the benefit of having a horse like Casa to help bankroll that little extra, back pocket.
Steve, it's so true. We're so fortunate. Casa's paid the bills for the barn for 5 years.
Yeah.
He's paid the bills.
Yeah.
You run in Saudi Arabia second 2 years in a row. They send you a check for second of $250,000.
Be thankful you didn't win the big race, because everybody's still waiting for their check for the
that's crazy.
No, I
wins
know.
that race.
Yes. So we've been so fortunate that Casa has been, financially just fabulous for us.
Well, and you also learned, you adjusted some things. You didn't press on to Meydan after the race.
Billy and I talked about it. We said he's 7. Let's run in Saudi Arabia. Let's bring him home. The previous year we went, and it worked out. He came back. He won the Jaipur. He won the 4th. But he's 7 years old now. So now we have a month before the 4-star Dave. the plan is to run him into 4-star Dave, but only if he's ready. Only if he's ready. We're not looking to.
Yeah, that's what Bill said in the winner's circle yesterday.
The long-range plan is to get him to Santa Anita. So we'll look to run him into 4-star Dave, but if he tells us he needs a little more time,
Go to the City of Hope.
The backup plan is a great plan. It's the Woodbine Mile in Mississippi.
Oh, all right, that too, which is one turn.
Breeders' Cup winning you're in.
And it's one turn Jiper style. Yep.
And you have that long stretch of You probably love that.
Yeah.
$1 million, Breeders' Cup winning you're in.
Yep.
So Bill and I were talking about it this morning. We'd love to get him into the 4-star Dave, but the backup plan will be Canada and then California.
I was going to say to go to California a month early and run in the City of Hope.
He's staying here with Mr. Mott.
All right.
He's not going anywhere.
I remember the first time I was up there at Woodbine, and I was watching a monitor inside, and my horse takes the lead at the top of the stretch, and I thought, I'm home. And I then took a couple of steps forward and looked at the actual track and thought, let me revise that plan. That stretch is crazy.
Seth and I were there for Tepin when Tepin.
Yeah. Right. They're great up there. It's a nice facility, right? Just down the thruway. People haven't visited.
Yes.
But I also, before we let you go, I have to mention, I said you're a great ambassador for the sport, and obviously you're in that on the owning side. But you're also a little bit of a player, and I'm not sure I'm going to remember the story exactly now, but you showed me your phone. It was like 2-3 years ago where you had a ticket that was essentially like a pick six $8 ticket, but you just kept punching. I think you had 3 singles on the ticket. You walked away. It was like
the opening Thursday.
That's right. It was unbelievable.
Middle of COVID.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to the track because I didn't have anything running, but over here in the condo, and I bought a pick 5, 1 by 4 by 2 by 1 by 1. That's a $4 ticket. I didn't know it that I bought it 54 times, kept it in repeat. We get home, a 21-1 shot singled in the first leg. Beat Chad Brown, he's 3-5 with an Ian Wilkes horse. In the second race, there's a Diodoro 2-5. I don't like it. I use the 4 longest shots, the 28-1 shot 1 with Ray Handel. And then I get a 5-1 Michael Trombetta to be the 3-5, and then 2 singles. Jeremiah Engelhardt and Linda Rice with the only MPO. The investment was $216, and we get back $518 grand.
That was great.
Unbelievable.
And
you're
listen,
the greatest.
I like cash, not credit, but I turned around and I took $100,000 and gave it to the Premier League.
Exactly.
So that's like a once in a lifetime thing.
That's your no, it's not. That's you do it on you do it with the fairly regular, and win or lose, you're also as beloved on the track for generosity and I mean it's just every good thing that comes your way is karma driven.
We're fortunate, and I'm pleased we can do it. And
and speaking of the TRF, you're involved with the Casa Amigas downtown, the charity event.
Yeah, we donated
middle of the meet.
Yes, they got that delivery the other day. 100 bottles of Casamigos and whatever they want. I got messages yesterday. There was an event last night. We gave Casamigos to. I didn't even know it, and they wanted to know where we were. And we're doing something with the Hall of Fame. We're happy to help.
Well, I say it all the time when we talk about you. You have horses running. I say I've been friendly with Lee for a long time now. He's a great guy, great for the game, and that's what makes it fun to bring you in here on days like this to introduce people and let them know how much fun it is. And as I say, you made 2 guys racing career yesterday. That was so much fun.
We in their shorts, tank tops, Bud Lights, and
they were yucking it up outside right outside the winner's circle. They absolutely were tickled.
That's
right.
That was great. And last night was epic.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Last night was good.
Very good. You have any? Always ask people because you're a Saratoga regular. Any place downtown that you would recommend for people who come into town? Where do you eat?
I like them all. I try and go
spread
everywhere.
it around.
Yeah,
I like going everywhere. I think there's so many great places. The people are so welcoming. As you spoke about earlier, Steve, Casa Creed has developed such a great following that when I go around town and bounce around, everybody's asking me about the horse and following the horse. So I think last night I wound up in maybe a dozen places. It was great.
Yeah, very good.
And I love getting in the car and going out and having dinner with Louis at Nove because that's the greatest. Yeah. That's the greatest. That's a special place. So I didn't get there yesterday, but maybe I'll get there tonight.
There's plenty of time.
Exactly. Plenty of opportunity.
All right, we'll wrap it up.
Thanks for having me.
Lee, our pleasure. Do we want to send off with a funny side reminiscence?
We're heading. I'm
All
worried
right.
about running into the Naira pregame.
All right, because we were gonna run the Derby again, passing a funny side earlier this morning. No, it's all right. Funnier, yes or no?
Yeah, well, Mick's the TV guy, so he's saying another 5.
Well, obviously, this story between Saratoga and Jack Knowlton and the late Dave Maher and oh my gosh, Gus Williams,
Barkley Tag, of course,
Barkley and Robin, and it was a magical story, and he's one of those horses. There's going to be a flood today and the next couple of days of an outpouring of appreciation for what he did not just for New York breeding and the New York racing community, but he brought tons of fans into the game that have become horse players, become owners, have become people in the industry. It was a great story.
With that group and the school bus, I think it raised people's knowledge of the whole partnership side of the game. And these were smaller kind of guys jumping in, and I think that has ramped up since the funny side era.
Well, and for people that don't recall, I mean, this is a horse that a lot of people had an opportunity to buy before Saratoga took him for $75,000. There were people that could have bought him off the farm for $50,000, and I know that the Pond Street people, I think, offered $55,000, and Joe McMahon and company, and they thought he was worth more. Distorted Humor, first crop of Distorted Humor, so there was uncertainty about what that represented, and the showcase for Barkley. And then for him to have this bookend, 18 years later or whatever it is, with 'Tis the Law, is really amazing. But
another Saratoga horse,
and personally, for Funny Side, for me, Funny Side was the horse that when I had started Derby Trail on Yahoo as a little sports group, it was Funny Side who I kind of rode his coattails. I identified him when he went down and ran in the Holy Bull, and then I basically stuck with him, through the Derby, and it kind of
Jose Santos.
Santos.
Yeah.
Well, and the crazy controversy.
Oh, absolutely crazy
with the idiots from the Miami Herald.
Yeah.
With the
Crazy
supposed
guy.
because the supposed buzzer, which created. I mean, there was so much going on. There was the angst that there was Bobby Frankel waiting in the wings, and Bobby was frustrated because he thought he had a Triple Crown horse in Empire Maker, and the hoof was, prevented him from being at his best. And then they laid in wait for
wearing the black hat.
Oh, big time.
Hey, Caprado was supposed to ride the horse. He didn't show up for work. Jose Santos was at the barn.
Yep.
They put up Jose Santos to work him, and Jose got the horse.
Yep.
They could miss the work, and Jose got the horse.
Yeah. There's so many.
Serendipity of the racetrack.
Well, and then you remember the lead up to Travers here, and how everybody was waiting for this Empire Maker Funny Side rematch, and it didn't materialize. They both ended up out.
Yeah.
And 10 Most Wanted, right?
Yes, I think
Wally
that's right.
Delazzi. The late Wally Delazzi.
Pate?
That sounds right, actually.
I think
you're right.
So.
I think
That
you're
sounds
right.
I
So,
think so.
to everybody who was involved directly, and to all the Saratoga partners that got involved subsequently, for Jack and Dot, and obviously Robin and Barkley, thoughts to everybody involved. The appreciation for what Funny Side means to New York racing and New York breeding, and fans and horse players in general.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. All right, we'll wrap it up. Again, Lee, congratulations
Thanks,
on yesterday. Good luck going forward with the
Thanks,
2-year-old and
Best.
4-star
Glad
Dave
you're
and
with me.
whatnot.
Always.
You're a lucky partner.
Wow.
Day one for Loose on the Lead, although you'll be out of town and that includes next week. Right?
There's actually a chance that we'll be back from Haskell.
Oh, okay.
We have to
All right.
leave,
All right, we'll keep
and
our fingers crossed.
so there's a chance. There's
we'll
a
keep our
chance
fingers
we'll be
crossed
back
because
Sunday.
you haven't taken a shot yet today, so we'll wait for next week. But I ran into a woman over on the front side yesterday. She walked up to me. She goes, man, I really like you. You do a great job, Monique. She goes, always making fun of your tie and your clothes, but I think you're really great. And so I said, I really appreciate that. So,
I used to love wearing that tie.
I don't own any.
Well, he's got plenty.
I don't own any.
All right, we'll wrap it up for this morning. Enjoy the races this afternoon. Again, low rollers contest here, double promo down at the Clubhouse Racebook. So
This is your year.
Oh,
You will win a low roller.
I had Casa Greed as my Beat Vic horse yesterday. So
As did I.
All right.
Oh, by the way, Beat Vic today is the quick call, and it's my DePaula play of the day horse, uncashed.
Very good.
All right?
If you're unfamiliar, go to NTRA.
NTRA.com/Beat Vic.
Yeah, you can get a chance at moving on later, maybe to the NHC. All right, we're wrapping it up. Loose on the lead on this first Sunday of the meet, first weekend of the meet. We'll be in here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So thanks for joining in. Enjoy the racing this afternoon. We'll see you on Wednesday for more on OT.
In the Kentucky Derby. Scrimshaw breaking on the far outside. Peace Rules. Brancusi is also right there. Toward the outside, Eye of the Tiger. Indian Express got caught in behind horses in the early going as they moved by us for the first time. And it is Brancusi in front. Peace Rules now moves to second. Eye of the Tiger is third. 20 side toward the inside is racing fourth. Scrimshaw 5 wide into the third in fifth. And Indian Express in a world of trouble, strangled in behind horses. Indian Express, a very tough time of it in the early stages here. Domestic Dispute is running seventh and between horses. Jerry Bailey has Empire Maker eighth and on the outside. Super Blitz is ninth. Awfully Wild is 10th. Then it's 10 Most Wanted, 3 Rod on the back of the pack. He's 11th on the outside. That's what I'm talking about. Is now running in 12th. Buddy Gill way near the back of the pack. And then it's out of here. Lone Star Sky and 10 Cents a Shine trails the field. The half went in a grueling 46 and 1/5 seconds. Peace Rule and Brancusi head-to-head with 5 furlongs to go here. Funny Side is called on for run as they approach the half-mile pole. Eye of the Tiger fourth and twirling on the outside. Then it's Domestic Dispute and splits room between horses. Scrimshaw with the chance. He's only 5 lengths from the lead. Jerry Bailey is now launching his bid with Empire Maker. And there they go. They're moving on the outside. 6th a moment ago. And now they're 5th on the outside with 3 furlongs to go. They've run 3 quarters in 1:10 and 1. They're approaching the top of the stretch. 20 side to the neck of Peace Rolls. Empire Maker charging hard. A sustained rally for him on the far outside. They turn for home. Eye of the Tiger. Brancusi is spent. Domestic Dispute is in between horses. Scrimshaw is caught. Awfully Wild there on the outside. They're coming down to the final furlong. And the gutsy gelding Funny Side has a narrow lead. Bobby Frankel's Derby duo. Peace Rolls to his inside. Empire Maker is giving it all. Funny Side trying to pull up. The upset here, 12 to 1 coming down to the line, and the gutsy gelding Funny Side has won the 129th Kentucky Derby with jockey Jose Santos aboard.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.